Welcome to the space for transformational leaders to unleash their magic, see better client results, work lighter, and live source. Hi, welcome. This is Darla LeDoux, founder of Sourced, author of Shift the Field, and welcome to Transformational Storytime. Today, I'd like to share the story of how I shifted the field to create my first ever six-figure marketing campaign. Now, when I've told this story in the past, I title it, The Time I Was Crying in the Daycare Parking Lot. So let me tell you a little bit about how this came to be. I had recently relocated from Cincinnati, Ohio to Denver, Colorado. I actually was just drawn to the mountains, and I decided I had worked to build my business online, and I knew a little bit about how to meet clients online. I felt confident enough to do that, and I picked up and I moved to Denver. I was working with a mentor at the time who was really helping me with my abundance mindset and being in my beingness the type of person who was a multi-six-figure business owner. And so when I moved to Colorado, I made a decision that I was going to rent a house not based on money. I was going to rent a house based solely on what felt right for me. I didn't even use the word soul at the time, but what felt right in my soul, what qualities in a house I really wanted without taking the price into consideration. Being in this place of deeply, deeply trusting that where the desire is present, the way to fulfill it is also present. This was one of the universal laws I was studying at the time, and I really wanted to put it into action. So I got there, I found a house. It wasn't the absolute most expensive house, but it was the second most expensive house. And I signed a lease and I moved myself in, and I'm feeling good about myself. Here I am working from home in my bunny slippers, meeting clients online, coaching them on the phone, and life is good, right? I also decided to hire a personal assistant because I wanted some help with things around the house, but really because I was acting as if I was the person that had this level of support in my life. I hired a personal assistant, but I was kind of frustrated because they weren't really doing the things that I wanted them to do. I felt like I was, constantly feeling this sense of, I'm paying you, but is this really worth it? But then I felt bad about not valuing what I was getting, right? Like, you should take what you could get. So I had this going on in my life and I was feeling a little bit crunchy about it. And if we were live, I'd ask you to raise your hand if you've ever felt crunchy about something where you're like, okay, I know that I shouldn't feel this way, but I feel this way and I'm not sure why, and I know it's significant. So that's kind of a clue that something's going on that's hidden from your view, that if you could see it, it would really make a difference. I was about to take a business trip, and I had, of course, booked the perfect flight that I was really excited about without, considering money and all of those things. And I needed to find a place to take my dog to daycare. So I researched a couple places and I picked a place to bring him. And I made an appointment. You have to go and have them evaluated to make sure they're okay to be there before you actually drop them off. So I had a one-day daycare play date. And I went to this daycare and I brought my dog in and I got to the front and I had faxed had my vet fax the information over, and I get to the front. And first of all, there's like a fence lining the parking lot. And on the other side of the fence are all the dogs, and they're like barking, rah, 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 and it was like this very small space, and it wasn't very nice. They just had like the wire fence, and there's the dogs barking, and I'm bringing my dog in, and I get to the front, and the girl says, we didn't get your paperwork. And I said, okay, I faxed it over. And she said, okay, well, that's fine, no problem. We'll just, waive it and let him in. I handed her the leash, and I'm feeling really uneasy at the time. This was before I had, developed a deep relationship with my sensation magic in my body or my inner knowing, but I just felt really uneasy. And I handed the leash over, and he was going to go spend 8 hours, and I would come pick him back up. And I got out to my car, and I sat in my car, and I immediately burst into tears. Just couldn't help it, uncontrollable, crying in the daycare parking lot. And I sat there and I thought, okay, I don't feel comfortable with this. I do not want to leave him here, but I feel bad telling this woman that my dog is too good for your daycare. But I didn't like the look of it. It didn't feel nice, like, the way that I wanted my dog to be treated, not to mention how many other dogs, didn't have their vaccine records on file. But I didn't want to be rude, and I just felt so bad. It took everything I could to muster all the courage to walk back in there and say, you know what, I'm not comfortable. I'd like to take my dog back. But I did it. I went in, I got him, brought him out, went back home, found a different place to leave him. Now, what's this have to do with making 6 figures from a marketing campaign, you might ask? In that process, I got to see over here, like, why was I so upset? What was it that was going on that had this deep inner conflict within me? I heard this voice that said, who do you think you are that now your dog is too good for daycare? Well, it turns out, who do you think you are was going on in the back of my mind about renting this house without looking at the price tag. It was going in the back of my mind about hiring a personal assistant, and then especially about not even being happy with having a personal assistant, right? Like, who do you think you are? Then I worked this through with my coach at the time to really uncover this moment when I was young, when my mom used to call me often an ungrateful shrew. Now, I didn't know what a shrew was at the time, but I knew it was real bad. And she would call me that, you ungrateful shrew, whenever I wasn't like super grateful for something that maybe I didn't ask for or didn't want, or, I wanted more. So that voice had been playing in the back of my mind as I was moving and relocating, getting the support that a real CEO would need. In the back of my mind was, you ungrateful shrew, who do you think you are? And I was able to work this with my coach and get really, really present to that and step in instead to a new energy of being someone who could be grateful or ungrateful, like having the freedom to choose. And in fact, with the freedom to choose, I could choose to be me, to be expressed, to speak up, to take up space, all of those things. And when I was so busy trying to prove that I was not ungrateful, I was trapped, because everything I did, this is Old Tired Path, by the way, you can go watch that series on my YouTube channel. Everything I did was being viewed from between a filter of it's proving I'm grateful or proving I'm ungrateful, and there was nothing in between, right? That was it. And so from that place, I wasn't free. Now, when I got free from this pattern, I actually started to write about it, and I created a little training about this concept. I called it the cycle of proving at the time. I wrote about it, and my campaign really resonated with people. I created a training to help other people break free from their own similar pattern. From that, I filled a program that came with a retreat, and from that retreat, I sold 6 figures into my first coaching program with a group of people who were all moving through a transformation similar to the one I had just been through, right? So I shifted the field, and then I moved forward sharing about my experience from my new energy, and I attracted in a whole group of clients who wanted the thing that I was talking about, right? Who wanted to shift their field in a similar way. And that is how I created my first 6-figure marketing campaign, speaking about being an ungrateful shrew and what I called the cycle of proving. Proving I was grateful, that I wasn't ungrateful, which ended up creating the same result over and over and over again. I'm curious what you hear in this. What's your version of this? And what would it be like for you to break free from whatever that judgment is and step into your first or next 6-figure marketing campaign? This is Darla LeDoux, founder of Sourced, and we'll see you soon.